Hi, my name's Tim, and today I'm going to show you how to make restructured jerky. Now, restructured jerky is just that uses ground meat versus whole meat that you have to slice. First thing we're going to talk about is some of the equipment that you're going to need to make jerky, any kind of jerky, but particularly restructured jerky. First, you're going to need a dehydrator. You can get these at any place like Walmart. They cost about 30 bucks. You're going to need a large airtight container. You're going to mix your meat up in here. You're going to kind of age it in here. So a good Tupperware container like this that you can seal the cap on, that's what you want to find. You're going to need some wax paper. A flat cookie sheet. This is one that only has the edge on one side. I'm using this as a spatula, so if you have one of those big pizza boards, something like that, that'll work as well, but this is just being used as a spatula. You're going to need a rolling pin, a good long rolling pin. Mine wasn't long enough at home, so I went out and got a piece of 1 1/4 inch PVC pipe out of the shop. It works great. It's dishwasher friendly. You're also going to need a couple 1/4 inch dowel rods. You know where to get these. The only thing I do to them is I rub them down with a little vegetable oil, gives them a food-friendly finish. After you've washed them a few times and let them dry, you can always put some more of that on there. You're going to need a cutting board and a good knife. I mean, this is a pretty aggressive knife. Be careful. I've cut myself with it before. And the last thing you're going to need is something I made, and I think you need it. It's a kind of a cutter. I'll show you how to use it later. But it's basically made out of the cap of a spray paint can, a scrap piece of wood from the shop that I notched to accept a piece of a broken, a piece of plastic knife. Now I just put it all together with a screw here so it pivots. Rub this down with a little vegetable oil. You're all set to go. Oh, one more thing you might want to have around, a piece of paper towel. You're going to want to wipe your hands off at some point. Now we're going to go about mixing the meat. Now, you got to get your big bowl out. I'm going to share my recipe with you. This is the way I like it, but you are welcome to try your own version of it. It starts out with 5 pounds of meat, whether it's ground venison or beef. If you're going to use beef, make sure you use extra lean beef, something 90% lean or better. You add 5 teaspoons of salt, a half cup of brown Splenda or brown sugar, whichever you prefer, a cup of red wine, a half cup of soy sauce, 2 teaspoons of granulated garlic, 1 tablespoon of black pepper, 1 tablespoon of crushed red pepper flakes, 2 tablespoons of liquid smoke, and 2 tablespoons of a mild chili powder. Now you take those things, you just put your meat in here, and you dump all your spices and stuff on top of it. Then make sure your hands are clean, but you just start mixing this up. Take your time. It might take you 10 minutes or so. You want to make sure it's all thoroughly mixed up good. Excuse me. Once it is done, then you go ahead and put the cover on it, stick it in your refrigerator. I like to let it set for a couple of days. Kind of like marinating. Let the spices get around in all the meat so that you have a better, more consistent mix. Now we're going to start making jerky. I happen to notice that my wax paper is about the same size as the same width as my rack, so we're going to keep that in mind. You put a piece of wax paper down like this. Get your meat over here. This is where it gets a little messy. Just reach in there, grab a big old wad of that meat, pluck it down on there. You can't have too much, better have too much than too little, but get it on there. Take your other piece of wax paper. Now here's where I like to wipe my hands off a little bit because they're a little slimy. And I start to pack it down. Now remember, my rack is the same width as the paper. So I start spreading it out, trying to make sure if you need to repack it, just go right ahead and do it like that. Trying to get it out to the width of the wax paper. You go back and forth. If you got a little too much here, I'll put a little more over there. Okay, that's pretty good. You want to make sure you're on a clean surface because you are going to get outside the paper a little bit. Once I've done that, once I've got it the width of the paper, I just take the whole thing and turn it 90 degrees. I get my two dowel rods, I put them on each side. And I start in the middle and gently work my way out. Now you're trying to keep this all in one big lump. You don't want a big piece just kind of breaking off and going on its own direction. So if you do break a piece off, you can always pick the paper up, put another piece in, patch it up, roll it out some more. There. Now you can see there that I have a piece of meat that's 1/4 of an inch thick all the way across except for this little bit at the end. We're not going to worry about that.